What may and may not go in a Denver dumpster. Renting a roll-off dumpster might sound like an excellent idea for those of you who live in the Denver area and foresee needing to dispose of considerable material. For example, those of you who are involved in extensive home improvement projects, or those of you involved with planning large events, have no doubt considered dumpster rental as a reliable way to keep the events clean and sanitary. After all, rented dumpsters allow you to dispose of materials you can't generally put out for collection. Before you make the executive decision to rent a Denver dumpster, though, you should ensure that you have all the information you'll need. There are certain things you cannot legally dispose of even in rental Denver dumpsters, so it's always best to make sure a dumpster will be appropriate for your purposes before renting one. You might think that just because you've rented a dumpster, you are not limited regarding the material with which you can fill it. Unfortunately, this is an incorrect assumption that can cause fines or other consequences for renters who don't do their research. Think of a dumpster rental in much the same way you might think of your regular garbage disposal at home. There are rules in place to protect the environment that governs what materials you can throw away for standard garbage collection, and it is much the same for dumpster rentals. Junk King is a company that offers various dumpster rental options to customers throughout Denver and other major metropolitan areas. As part of our commitment to strong customer service and responsible environmental practices, we provide helpful and accurate information on materials that you cannot put in a Denver area dumpster. Our goal is to help customers stay within the requirements of the law and continue to uphold green disposal practices that create a more sustainable future for themselves and their communities. What materials are dumpster safe? There are some things you can normally dispose of in a Denver dumpster with confidence. Understanding what these materials are is an excellent first step in assessing whether a dumpster rental in the Denver area will be right for you. For instance, those of you who work in construction will often find dumpster rental an excellent way to deal with excess materials and keep your sites clean. Here's why dumpster rental is a safe bet for construction work. Building materials. Yes. Much of the materials used in construction is relatively easy to process, which makes it simpler to dispose of too. Many standard construction materials, including concrete, drywall, and siding, are entirely appropriate for use in dumpsters. Rooftop shingles are also acceptable in almost every case, as are brick and stone. These items are solid and considered non-toxic, which means that they will not pose a danger to the environment near the dumpster. Old furniture, paper products, and yard debris. Yes. Those of you who are landscaping may wonder whether a dumpster rental can help you. Since grass clippings, leaves, sticks, and branches are all easy to dispose of, you can always include them in the contents of your rented dumpster. The same goes for paper products, although you can recycle small quantities more efficiently. Old furniture is another thing you can put in your Denver dumpsters, since it's mostly made up of cotton and wood. Even scrap metal is allowed in dumpsters throughout Denver, meaning you can dispose of modern furniture this way. You can dispose of many items in rented dumpsters safely. As it turns out, a broad spectrum of materials can be safely disposed of in a Denver dumpster without fear of breaking the law. If you're renting a dumpster for a construction project or property renovation, you'll have no problem finding things to put in it. It's usually a good idea to talk with the professionals at Junk King to make sure you're renting an appropriately sized dumpster so you can rid yourself of all the material you don't want. However, if you're working with materials not mentioned above, you'll want to check them against the following list to make sure they aren't prohibited. Things you can't put in dumpsters. The items you're not allowed to put in Denver dumpsters normally fall into one of several categories. They're either toxic, flammable, harmful for the environment, or all of the above. If you're working with dangerous substances, think twice before consigning them to a rented dumpster. Here are some examples of no-nos for your rented Denver dumpster. Fluids used in automobiles. No. Motor oil is a perfect example of something you should never put in a rented dumpster. It catches fire easily, it's deadly to any animals that might ingest it, and it makes a huge mess when it leaks. It's not just a liability for you in the neighborhood, it's also an inconvenience for the rental company and a potential pain for the next person who rents your dumpster. Most fluids used in cars are prohibited for the same reasons. Anything that explodes. Absolutely not. Explosives should be a no-brainer, but it's worth pointing out for safety's sake. If you want to rid yourself of explosives responsibly, you probably shouldn't put them in an unsecured outdoor receptacle. No fireworks, firecrackers, gunpowder, aerosol cans, or propane cylinders. If it can go boom, it's not for a dumpster. Need we say more? Freon and asbestos. No. Like oil, gasoline, or paint, yes, paint, Refrigerant and asbestos are two substances that should be nowhere near a rental dumpster. Asbestos is a breathing hazard, meaning you should never leave it in an outdoor container. Freon can cause a variety of problems with those who encounter it, subjecting it to the same controls. Batteries and tires. No. Those of you doing automotive work may want to use your rented dumpsters judiciously. You already know you can't put gasoline, oil, or paint in a dumpster, but what about the other materials? Tires are out, since rubber can be dangerous for the environment and is subject to strict disposal protocols. Batteries contain acid and can be hazardous when put into proximity with metal and other conductors if they still hold a charge. Use common sense. Many less common items shouldn't go in dumpsters in the Denver area, but instead of reading about every last one of them, you should probably just ask a few questions about any item you're considering. Could it poison an animal that eats it by accident? Could it start a fire, explode, or release an airborne toxin? Will it burn on contact with skin? Will it damage the dumpster? Any items that cause these problems shouldn't be put into a dumpster you've rented. It's mostly a matter of common sense. Make the most of your rented dumpsters. Remember, dumpster rentals can be handy if you fill your containers with appropriate materials. Consult the list above, think carefully about any items you don't see covered, and contact professionals for more information if need be. For more information on the prices Junk King offers and the rules we enforce for dumpster rentals, click here. Choose the right partners and be cautious when filling your dumpsters, and you'll find they make viable solutions for many large-scale projects.